progress.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We, alhamdulillah, have tawfiq to continue our study of Imam Mahdi in Islamic scholarship. We have been talking about occultation and its philosophy. Alhamdulillah, we talked about it already. We mentioned some reasons for occultation and the nature of occultation and how Imam Mahdi is living in this period of time. Today we want to continue this discussion with mentioning the deputies of Imam Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif in minor occultation and major occultation. We said that Imam alayhi salam, after martyrdom of Imam Askari alayhi salam, started his occultation. So in the year 260 after Hijrah, occultation started. And then up to 329, so for 69 years, we have what we call al-ghayba as-sughra, minor occultation. And then from 329 till the time of reappearance of Imam is al-ghaybatul kubra, is the major one. And everyone was informed that there would be two types of ghayba from long before, and one would take longer, and in the longer one some people may be losing their faith. Some people would be not able to keep their iman. So in 260 till 329, in those 69 years, we have four people that are known as Nuwab Khas. These are specific deputies of Imam, means they were appointed by name. They were not, selected or elected by people. They were not people that, for example, Imam gave their qualities and qualifications and descriptions and people had to go and search and find them. No, Imams alayhimus salam, they made it easy for people by appointing these people by name. But from 329, that's when we entered the peak of ghayba. There is no access to Imam. There is no access to the people who have regular access to Imam, whose responsibility is to communicate on behalf of Imam. Now we have people that we should find out by ourselves. We don't appoint them, we don't select or elect them, but we have to find them out. And it's responsibility of every mu'min or mu'minah to find out who are those people to follow them. Let us first have an introduction to those four, Na'ib Khas, and then the tasks and the nature of Ghaybat Sughra and Nuwab Khas, and then we move on to the second stage. In Muharram last year, when we talked about helpers Then we had few sessions on these four deputies of Imam. We started with the helpers of Rasulullah, and then Imams, and then we reached helpers of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. So those who are interested, they can refer to that series. Briefly here we can say that the first Na'ib Khas who was appointed by name is Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri. Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri was a great person who was trusted by Imam Askari alayhi salam and Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. In our hadith, we have that Imam Askari alayhi salam asked people that in the time of Ghaiba to refer to Uthman ibn Sa'id. For example, he said to the people of Qom when he had meeting with them that Uthman ibn Sa'id would be the deputy and they should refer to him. For about 6 years he had this role till he died. The next person was his son, Muhammad ibn Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri. Uthman ibn Sa'id died around 267, so before 267. Muhammad ibn Uthman ibn Sa'id died in 305. So he was there for a longer period, around 40 years. When Uthman ibn Sa'id passed away, Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif sent a letter to his son and offered him his condolences for the demise of his father, and in this letter he was informed about his role. Of course, Imam Askari alayhi salam also had already praised Uthman ibn Sa'id and his son. Those of you who have studied Ilmul Usul, and when we talk about referring to Rawat, about Khabar Wahid, and also in the discussion about Ijtihad, you know that we have this hadith, Al-Amri wa ibnuhu thiqatan. Amri wa ibnuhu means, Amri means Uthman ibn Sa'id Amri, and ibnuhu, his son, is Muhammad ibn Uthman ibn Sa'id. They are very trusted and reliable people, and Imam Askari alayhi salam already had paved the way and mentioned that after his father he would be the deputy. Imam Mahdi also in that letter clarified this issue. So now we go to the third person, Hussein ibn Ruh Nawbakhti, who died in 326. So from 305 till 326, about 21 years, he was Na'ib Khas of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. He was very reliable person. He was close to Muhammad ibn Uthman, but Muhammad ibn Uthman could not appoint him by himself. In the last days of life of Muhammad ibn Uthman, Imam Mahdi instructed him to introduce Hussein ibn Ruh Nawbakhti for the same position but after his demise. Hussein ibn Ruh Nawbakhti initially had some high position and respect in the Abbasid Caliphate, because some of the Shia had permission to work with the caliphs and in this way help the oppressed and reduce the pressure on the righteous people and the innocent people. So he was very close and he was very respected. But then some problems happened and he had to live in hiding. If they were able to find him, they would have, created lots of problems, or maybe even, killed him. So finally, for 5 years, they put him in prison. He was Na'ib of Imam. So this is about the history of his life. He was Na'ib of Imam for 21 years. Then we have the last one who was just there for about 3 years as Na'ib, Ali ibn Muhammad Samuri, from 326 up to 329. It was very difficult time, lots of pressures from the government, from the Abbasid government on the Shia, and he was not able to easily contact with the Wukala, that inshallah we will talk about them, about the agents and the network of the agents. Before his demise, he received a letter from Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, in which Imam offered his condolences to Shia for the demise of Ali ibn Muhammad, which indirectly meant, or directly, that he is going to die soon. And Imam asked him not to introduce any person. So this was the last person that was Na'ib Khas, and with his demise a new era started, and that is Al-Ghaybatul Kubra. So some of the tasks and characteristics of these Nawab Arba'ah, these four, are as follows. One is that they had to clarify for the Shia any shubuhat, any doubts, any misunderstandings, any confusions that could be either naturally coming because of ghaibah or by enemies could be developed. They had to clarify. You can imagine that when people are used to presence of Imam for many years, then ghaibah is not something easy, and enemies also could use this as a way to spread doubts among the community, among the Shia. So Nawab Arba'ah, these four, especially the first and the second, Amri and his son, they very much dealt with these objections of doubts and confusions. But later it became more clear and things were clarified. sometimes in order to help them, Allah gave them also ability to have some karamat, some extraordinary acts, some types of knowledge, some types of things that could help people to be convinced, or could be certain, or at least even if they were certain, their heart could be, at peace and rest through their karamat. And sometimes also writings and tawqi'at of Imam Mahdi was helping them. Some say that if you look at the contents of the tawqi'at of Imam Mahdi, most of the contents is about this point, about answering to the doubts and clarifying the confusions. Another task that they had was to hide the place of living of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. This is very important, because enemies, as we said, even before his birth, they were trying to avoid it or kill him as soon as, for example, they find a mother who is pregnant. Any situation that they could, find Imam to prevent his birth or kill him after his birth, they would not miss the opportunity. So these Nawab had to keep the Imam alayhi salam safe and be very careful about this issue. So on the one hand, they knew where Imam is and how to find Imam and connect to Imam. On the other hand, they had to keep it secret from the enemies, and most of the time even from the Shia. Because if the Shia were also informed, maybe they could, spread this. Maybe it could leak out. They were also trying to teach Shia that in that period they should not even mention the name of Imam. We have a discussion, in some hadith that Imam's name should not be mentioned. This is for that period, that even talking about Imam could be dangerous, because little by little enemies could be triggered to find out who is this person, where is he, and put pressure on the Shia, and then find the Nawab and put pressure on them. So we have reports that you are aware of where Imam Mahdi is. Nawab were trying to limit their communications with the Shia community through the agents, through the wukala. Therefore, one of their main tasks, or the third task, is organizing, training, and protecting the network of agents. From time of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, actually this started. Maybe before it was there, but from the time of Imam Kadhim, we have a formal network of agents that they operated on different parts of the world where the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam were there. And the peak of their activity was in this time of Ghaybat al-Suqra. And through these wukala, that sometimes some of them were regional, and then under them there were other wukala, the deputies of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif were in touch with the Shia community, answering questions, responding to the letters, also receiving money which belonged to Imam alayhi salam. So the other task of these deputy was to supervise the wujuhat, the financial either donations or obligatory money and taxes like khums that had to reach and had to be spent according to the will of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. The other task was that they were very careful about the social interests of the community, socio-political interests of the community. They had to play some role of like a leadership for the entire community. Sometimes, some issues were very hot socio-political issues. The caliphs could be very sensitive about certain things. Maybe they have some policies to misguide people, to divide people, to confuse people. They had to be very careful in monitoring and giving appropriate, decisions and instructions. Another thing which is very important is not to let divisions take place. Unfortunately, we have had in the past some divisions. Some people split, Alhamdulillah, from time of Imam Reza alayhi salam, we didn't have any split, any division. We didn't have a new sect. Waqifiyya, who remained with the seventh Imam, and they didn't believe in Imam Reza, seems to be the last sect that split from 12ers. Nawab Khans, although it was time of Ghaiba, they were very much trying not to let chance for any person who is misguided or who has selfish reasons or confused, whatever, to start a new sect, a new branch. They try to remind people that Imams are 12. No one should say, I'm the 13th Imam, I'm the 14th Imam, or, and who is the 12th Imam, so that no one should say, I'm Al-Mahdi. So they worked hard to avoid any divisions. And Alhamdulillah, they were successful. They also were working hard against any person who would claim that he is Al-Mahdi. And Imam Mahdi himself was helping them with some of the tawli'at about this issue. So no one could, claim that he is Al-Mahdi without receiving instructions and guidance to nullify that. One of the things also they had to do was to oppose ghulat. Ghulat were people who were, exaggerating, like, zealots. They were exaggerating and sometimes claiming some kinds of deity for imams. Although it seems that they must be very much loving imams, but the reality is that they were more harmful than some of the enemies, because they were deviated from the right path and could make other people also go astray. And also people could think that this is coming from imams themselves. Na'udhu billah, they want to receive such, high position, higher than human beings, although imams were against it. So this issue of how to deal with ghulat is very important issue. We have this from before in some lectures about Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. I said that on the one hand you find Imam Sadiq alayhi salam very much advising about good relation with what we call mukhalifin, with the people who were not Shia, with the general public, with Sunni brothers and sisters, taking part in their salat, their funerals, etc. With mukhalifin, Imam is very much emphasizing on keeping good relation. But when it comes with ghulat, those who were claiming that we are from Shia community, we are from Ahlul Bayt, we love them a lot, but they were exaggerating, with them Imam had different policies. policies for Sunni brothers and sisters were very much different from policies with the Shia, who claimed to be Shia, but they were Ghulat. Here you see Imam want to distance themselves from these people, want to say we have nothing to do with these people. Even sometimes Imam cursed them, these people. One case in the time of Nawab Arba'eh is Muhammad ibn Nusayr. Some people also followed him, Nusayriyah, who were Ghulat. And they believed Imams, na'udhu billah, had some rububiyyah, some lordship. They were also spreading the possibility of marrying one's maharim. Muhammad ibn Usman cursed Muhammad ibn Nusayr and prayed against him and disassociated himself from him. Or for example, Shalmaghani, who used to be a wakil, an agent of Imams. But unfortunately later he deviated and then got into Ghuluv. Hussein ibn Ruh, that at some time had good relation with him, distanced him. And then a tawqi' was issued from Imam Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, against Shalmaghani. So this was also one task, to oppose Ghulat that from inside community want to harm. So these 4 deputies, each at his own time, they had to look after all the interests of the community, of the Muslim Ummah, of all, humanity, in the line of teachings of Quran and Sunnah and will of Imam of the time. So these are some of the tasks of these deputies. Now I would like to mention some of the characteristics of these 4 people. Why they were chosen? What was special in them? We can mention these qualities. One is that they had a strong faith, Iman, firm faith. This is a requirement for every leadership, and they had to have very strong faith. Second, to be very much trustworthy. Amana. They were ma'moon. They were people that could be trusted. Very pious. Number 4, they were very much capable of keeping things confidential, to protect secrets. Secrets which were holy, which were sacred, not bad secrets. We don't have any bad secrets here. For example, where is Imam? Or all who are associated with Imams. They had to keep these things. Financial situation, they had to keep these things secret, otherwise enemies could find out and create problems. In the series on followership, we have mentioned actually many of these characteristics for all good followers who could also be potentially good leaders. Another quality which is very important, it's a requirement of taqwa, is a requirement of trustworthiness, but in particular we should highlight it and single it out, is that they were not acting according to their personal opinion. A deputy of Imam is a deputy of Imam, should act, should talk, should make relations, make decisions based on the will of Imam alayhi salam. If you are doing something on your behalf, then you are not deputy. You have to do everything on the behalf of Imam alayhi salam. So it was impossible that they would change even a dot in the instructions of Imam. But in particular, emphasis has to be put on their ability to keep things confidential. There is a beautiful hadith that I would like to share with you. Sheikh Tusi Ridwanullah Ta'ala alayh, in Al-Ghaibah, one of the books of Al-Ghaibah is by Sheikh Tusi. We talked about it and quoted from it before. Volume 1, page 391. He has a chapter. It's very interesting. Sufara'ul Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Because these people were also called Safir, like ambassador, representative. وَالظُّرُوفِ التي أحاطتهم في السفارة, and the circumstances of their role. وذكر أمور أخرى. Then he talks about ذكر السفراء الممدوحين, those who are praised, and then he reaches this point. My reference is from this part about في ذكر أبي القاسم الحسين بن الروح النوبختي. So as I said, volume 1, page 391. Ibn Nuh and some other people, they say that Abu Sahl al-Nubakhti, a great scholar from the same family of Nobakht, Al Nobakht were very famous Persian family, and they were great scholars. We have Firaq al-Shia by Nobakhti. So Abu Sahl al-Nubakhti was asked, كيف صار هذا الأمر إلى الشيخ أبي القاسم الحسين بن الروح دونك? Why you didn't become Naib, and instead Hussein ibn Ruh, whose kunya was Abu al-Qasim, he is chosen. Why you didn't become? With all the merits that you have. He said, Hum a'lam. Imams themselves are better aware whom to choose as their deputies. وَمَخْتَارُوهُ, whatever they choose, that's the best. They know better. But then he mentioned something that could help them understand. So he wanted to say what is his own understanding. He says, وَلَكِنْ أَنَا رَجُلٌ أَلْقَى الْخُصُومَ وَأُنَاظِرُهُمْ. I am a person that meets those who debate Imam, don't accept Imams. Khas means enemies, but here means enemies in discussion. It doesn't necessarily mean militant enemies. وَأُنَاظِرُهُمْ, I do debate with them. So about Imam, I have lots of discussions and debates. وَلَوْ عَلِمْتُ بِمَكَانِهِ كَمَا عَلِمَ أَبُو الْقَاسِمِ. if like Abul Qasim Hussein ibn Ruh, the third Na'ib, if I knew where is Imam Mahdi, sometimes maybe when pressure was a lot on me in debates, they don't believe in Imam Mahdi, say, how can, for example, Imam be in occultation, etc. Then under pressure, I may have then mentioned that, Imam is in this place, let's go and see him. He says, لو علمت بمكانه كما علم أبو القاسم وزقطتني الحجة على مكانه لعلي كنت أدل على مكانه. Zaqt means pressure. So if argument was getting very, difficult, very severe, maybe pressure was leading me to show them where is Imam. Imagine if, we had seen Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Actually, I have many times, thought about this, that if, for example, we had seen Imam Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, and then when we want to talk to people, about arguments for existence of Imam and Hadith, Tawatur, etc., it was very difficult for you not to say, I have seen Imam, or not to speak in the way that they don't understand. It's very difficult, because not to show off, but out of, your interest in people's faith, and, you want people to be connected to Imam, you would have said something or done something so that they would realize. And maybe this is a great reason, or very common reason, for many people, many scholars, maybe not being able, unless they reach the point that they can keep this hidden. So he says, if I knew, and ذقطتنا الحجة لعلي كنت أدل على مكانه, maybe I was then showing people where he is. But look at Abul Qasim. He says, wa Abul Qasim means the third Naib, Hussein ibn Ruh. فلو كانت الحجة تحت ذيله وقرض بالمقاريض ما كشف الذيل عنه. If Imam Mahdi was under his, for example, cloak, under his dress, suppose he was hiding Imam Mahdi under his dress, and they were pressurizing him and with scissors cutting him into pieces, he would not say Imam Mahdi is here. Can you imagine? Someone can keep this much secret. They make him into pieces. Like, many people that we had, many ulama and many pious people, that in the time of last regime, they used to torture them in prisons, and even some of them were killed, but they never compromised about the secrets that they knew. So alhamdulillah, we have such mu'mineen. Hussein ibn Ruh was in a very high level of that even for something like being made into pieces by scissors, he would not disclose that Imam Mahdi is there. So these are some of the qualities of those four people. After that, then we enter a new era. As I said, Imam told Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samuri not to introduce anyone. Of course, always was with the instructions from Imam, but in order not to leave any chance that maybe, for example, Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samuri or anyone else, could say, okay, maybe Imam didn't say anything, we have to wait, maybe he's going to appoint, or maybe we should feel responsible to do something. Imam made it clear, no, don't introduce anyone, don't mention anyone. So we entered a new era. Now, in this period, we have to find out people with their qualities. I would like to mention with you some of the hadiths from Imams alayhimus salam about this stage of major occultation. I mention one hadith, inshallah, then we can have break and we continue. The first hadith is from Sheikh Tusi's Al-Ghaibah, the same book that we just quoted from, page 290, and also from Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Ni'mah by Sheikh Saduq, that we frequently quoted from, volume 2, page 483. Ishaq ibn Ya'qub asked about how we should act in the time of Ghaybat Kubra. This question was raised to Imam, and this tawqi came, very famous one, we quoted before also. أما الحوادث الواقعة فارجعوا فيها إلى رواة أحاديثنا فإنهم حجتي عليكم وأنا حجة الله عليهم. Although with the things we have learned from previous Imams, we know this. This is not something which has no precedence. This is not a totally new thing. It's just new because the question and the answer come in the time of Ghaybat Kubra. Otherwise, all the things that we have learned from Ahlul Bayt would lead to the same conclusion. أما الحوادث الواقعة فارجعوا فيها إلى رواة أحاديثنا. With respect to the incidents or events that happen, because we need Imam of time for what? For new things. Yeah? Not for how many rak'ah we should pray every day, whether we should fast months of Ramadan or these are the things that we know already. What should we do with respect to al-hawadith al-waqi'ah, to the newly merged issues? For example, today, what should we do with banking? What should we do, with insurance, with cloning, with genetic engineering, with such issues? What should we do? What should we do with respect to, confusions, misguidance, mischief in the world, etc., injustice? أما الحوادث الواقعة, it's a general title. حوادث الواقعة. فارجعوا فيها إلى رواة أحاديثنا. You must refer to the people who narrate our hadith. Emphasis is put on narrating hadith. Of course, you know that narrating, because someone may say, okay, this is about just to be a narrator of hadith. But a narrator of hadith cannot solve hawadith waqi', because we said we are talking about new issues. This means people who narrate our hadith, they know first our hadith, which one is authentic, which one is not abrogated, which one is not for taqiyya, etc. They know all these things, and then they know how to apply them to the new issues. Isn't it ijtihad? From the reliable, authentic hadith, they should know what should we do for new things. This is ijtihad. Otherwise, just a muhaddis who literally narrates hadith cannot help us. But we need mujtahideen who are taking their opinions from hadith, because the source should be Quran and Sunnah, cannot be something else. We don't have qiyas, we don't have istihsan. They cannot use their own personal opinion or guessing or considerations. فَإِنَّهُمْ حُجَّتِي عَلَيْكُمْ وَأَنَا حُجَّةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِمْ. They are my hujjah over you. Means you have to follow them, and in this way you can be fulfilling your responsibility towards me. And I am hujjah of Allah over them, so they have to follow me. And in this way they can fulfill their responsibilities. So although Imam Mahdi is hujjatullah ala nas, but people cannot directly understand what he wants. So hujjah of Allah comes with a system, comes with a proper methodology. Like for example, even for marja'iyya, how I should understand view of marja'. There is a system, there is risala, there is, I don't know, you can send inquiries, there are representatives, there are offices. Otherwise not everyone can ask marja' directly. We as community, especially in the time of ghaibah, how we can make sure that we follow the hujjah of Allah? We should follow those that are His hujjah over us. They facilitate, they occur between us and Imam when it comes to this side. For spiritual things, of course, we can make tawassul to Imam directly. But for receiving guidance, which is a form of knowledge, we need people who can be as a chain facilitating this for us. So فَإِنَّهُمْ حُجَّتِي عَلَيْكُمْ وَأَنَا حُجَّةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِمْ. Inshallah, after break we continue with other hadiths about the time of Ghaybat Kubra and the role of Nawab Am, general deputies of Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.